Okay, so this is going to be a demonstration on how to model a face in Maya. And I've already imported my image planes, and I've made sure that they line up correctly with the eyes. In Photoshop, I've already done this with the eyes, lining up with the eyes, using my rulers as guidelines to check my reference points as far as the eyebrows, eyes, nose, mouth, chin, forehead, hairline, ears, etc., to make sure that they both are scaled proportionately. So when I begin modeling this, I'm not confused or anything when I'm looking at either one of my references. One of the things we want to keep in mind when creating topology is the edge loops around the eyes are extremely important, as well as this, I call it the robin mask, where it wraps around like so. This orange line outside the green eyes, the green loops, edge loops. And then the mouth has edge loops like so, and around the nose here as well. And to have correct topology, if you're going to have some nostril flaring or something around the nose, around the nostril, it's the same edge loop accordingly. So this is the topology we're just going to kind of reference and try to keep as accurate as possible. So one of the things I like to do is I like to start with the eye, and I'm only going to focus on one side of the face. And with this, in my front reference, I'm going to X-ray. I'm going to turn on X-ray, rotate this 90, change my subdivisions to approximately like 12, and just move it in place of the eye, scale down. And this is going to be quick, but so it might not look exactly like Robert Downey Jr. at the end of this, but if I were to put some serious time into it, you can get magnificent results. So I'm just lining this up with my reference. And that's approximately all I need there. I'm going to delete these faces, switch here, and now what you'll see is I've already begun to create those edge loops to get the start of the edge loops that I need right off the bat. And I'm just going to continue following my guideline. Some of these, this little line over his eye, the first one would be like his eyelid. I'm not going for perfection on this, just topology. And then here I just sort of follow around the edge of his eye. Something like that. Another thing I need to do is, because it's black here, I need to go to Mesh Display, Reverse, and now it's gray. And the other thing is, just going to bring that in a little bit. So I'm going to just move this into place at the moment, approximately here. And I'm still getting used to, excuse me, Maya 2016, where they've changed some of the user interface, words, terms, icons, or whatever, where we've got, excuse me, where this used to be called normals, now they call it mesh display, and just minor little things that have been altered. So right here, I'm going to start by bringing down my brush, I'm going to turn on my soft select or brush tool, and I'm just going to adjust the size by holding B and left clicking left or right to adjust that size. And I'm going to start to just pull back, and here I'll probably just pull forward, and I'm referencing off my side references I select in my perspective, and this probably goes in slightly, and I get something that starts to shape out like an eye. Now back to my front view, I'm going to continue extruding out from here, and I'm going to switch to vertex, and sort of just expand that out a little bit. But now that I've got my edge loops, and I could even go maybe one more time, but I'm going to hold off because I'm going to see where I want my nose and my eye to connect, and that robin loop I was mentioning earlier, because they will start to combine right around here, around the eyebrow. So that's a pretty good start for the eye. I can also create the eye itself, and just go ahead and move that into place, something like that. And it's always good to have this eye in place. Okay, because then you can sort of reference here and get it to start to wrap around that eye a little bit more. And I can start to bring this in slightly. Something like that. And this can come in like so for now. To get it to look a little bit more like an eye, I'm going to extract these. Is it here? Where did we go? I usually, on my personal computer, I have a custom shelf where I have all this, so I never really need to start running around looking for these things. I'm looking for extract. Maybe it's detach. No. Extract. Here we go. And it won't let you select from the modify center pivot. Rotate 180. Slightly move back into place. Select these faces. Mesh, extract. Mesh. There we go. Modify center pivot. So anytime you extract an object from something, the center pivot point, the anchor point, whatever you want to call it, goes directly to the origin. And on this one we want to do a mesh display reverse, and that just sets our normals up to be the right way. I'm going to combine all of these objects. Combine, Shift I to isolate this, and now I'm just going to go ahead and merge some verts. And I'm doing these individually just out of habit, but you can highlight a whole bunch as long as you have the tolerance set correctly. I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay. So I'm starting to get that look of an eye. I'm going to bevel this edge. 2 segments. Let's see how that looks. Too much. and that's better. And let's see if it works here. Yep. Okay. Soften edge. Cool. Get a little bit more realism on the eyeball itself. And then later, if you really wanted to, you could add an outer lens as well. But that's pretty good for now, just to get what we're looking for. Every once in a while, I'll do an edit, delete all by type history. And now we've got the start of looking like an eye. Now here, I also like to turn on shading, wireframe on shaded. And I'm going to start creating the mouth now, and I'm going to do that the same exact way I create my eye, because it's just a really easy way to get the topology started on it and the correct edge loops. You don't have to sit there and cut into geometry. It's just a real fast, easy, simple kind of way. Do 16 for the mouth to start. Because the mouth has a little bit, you have that M shape going. And that's really all I'm concerned about, is making sure I get that slight M on the lip. Now, I'm going to delete this half and duplicate, freeze transformation, scale, -1. Select this, combine, merge my vertices, delete these faces, edge, select the edge loop, extrude out, and now I'm going to delete these faces, and I'm also going to extrude in. Also need to make sure mesh display reverse, and now I can go ahead and start to place this where I need everything. Since his mouth is slightly closed, yeah, I mean you could do it open or whatever, but I'm just going to stick with the reference. And actually, I'm going to stick with this half of my reference. Excuse me. Because I've already started my entire mesh just matching that, and I want to continue doing that to make sure that his entire mesh is uniform with one another. So like his left eye, so this entire face is the side. Once I flip it over, it will all appear to be right. Scale -1, combine, merge vertices. Okay. And just go ahead and start. You can turn on symmetry. So now anything I do to one side, it will do to the other, which is a really nice feature. But this part I'm just going to start to round out, because I don't want it to look too weird. I don't want it to. I want it to round out as it goes out, not keep the same shape of the mouth. And another thing, add divisions to faces. You could do it this way, add divisions to faces, or you could also do it this way to add edge loop. And with this edge loop, I'm going to start to create that lip. Okay. Now, as you see, it's just a flat face. Modify center pivot. Okay. And what I'm going to do here is watching my side reference, I'm going to start to just pull this face back. And here I'll start to maybe pull this forward just to start to get the shape of it. It's not perfect at the moment. Turn brush off, but it's a good start. So something like this edge you can bring in slightly, get that little indent that we all have right here. And here, just sort of shaping it out, just not so much. It's not so round out like that. That's a little too round, but I'm just focused on making sure I get the edge of the lip correct. Something like that. And since his face is on a very slight perspective, it's a little bit more difficult to make sure I get that. So I need to just continue doing slight adjustments, something like that. That's pretty decent. Alright, to start with. Now, the next thing is I'm going to start the nose. Again, I'm just going to start with a cylinder. Change it to maybe 8 actually for this one to start with. Scale it down. And I'm just going to start with the bridge of it for now. Go here. Just turn my wireframe on shaded on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off symmetry for the time being. I'm going to delete faces that I no longer want to have on here. And switch to my side view. Vertex, drag these forward. And I'm just going off my reference here. And eventually I know I'm going to want to have a couple more. So I'll start with 2 cuts using my multi-cut tool. Start to sort of follow the reference on here around the nose. Switch to my front view, make sure that's all good. And here, oops, it's going to start to come out slightly. Okay. And I'm going to begin extruding just to go around the nose itself. And okay. Extrude. And that should about do it for the time being. And then I start to get that shape around here. And I know I'm going to want symmetry on for this point because I'm going to add a subdivision here of 2, so meaning 1 edge loop straight down. And here also, I'll do that next step. I'll pull out the nostrils. Bridge. Okay. This here. Same thing here. Bridge this. I'm just closing this off. Make sure that these are merged. And now I'm going to just make sure I've got just the faces I want to extrude out. And here starts to look a little too square, so you just go ahead and start to match it to your reference. Okay, and here, just go ahead and drag these in. To begin to get that roundness. And for the nostril itself, and here's where I run into a slight little technical issue. So the noses do match up slightly. They're slightly off, so I got to pick one to go off of. For now, I'm going to go off the front, and if I find it looking odd later, I will simply make the adjustments necessary. Let's see. I think I'm just going to do a half and half, so I'll bring it up slightly, about half, because I need to keep the rounder shape of it, but something like that. And these should come in slightly. And you start to get that nose look. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm not going for perfection at the moment. I'm just trying to get the topology down. And modify, freeze transformations. DX. I'm holding D and X to adjust my pivot point to be at the center. Command D. Scale -1. Same thing with the I. It's already at center, so Command D, scale -1. And we start to get the look of an actual human face now. Now, make sure you save too. So we've got that. Now, going back to here, a few of the things I've done already. Oops. And one more thing. I've got, so what I've got so far is I've got the edge loop around the eye. I've got my nose modeled in place so I can begin to create these other edge loops. And I also have the edge loops around the lips here started. Now, the rest of it, I'm going to start to just plug away at, and when I'm done getting this correct topology, what I'll do is I'll start to create, I'll start to pull back the face. So I'm not too worried about the shape of it yet, but I'm far more concerned about getting the correct topology. So for here, I think I'll start with this one moving around the face. And just sort of going to follow my references, and I'm going to be what I call the laugh line right here. If you ever notice yourself smiling or laughing, right here, or right where the cheeks begin, there's always like a wrinkle there on a human face. So it's always, I just call it the laugh line. So if you hear me use that expression, you'll know what I'm talking about. So I'm just following the laugh line, moving all the way down, and I'm creating this edge loop in the light teal blue or turquoise blue around the face. And I could have done this by, and I'm trying to follow my other topology as best as possible. To make it easier when I start to combine them. And now you'll notice this just goes straight down around, and as I mentioned before, I'm not too concerned about that at the moment. Now what I'll do is I'll take this one and I'll start this one to go around for my what I call the robin mask right here, this orange, and I'm going to have this edge loop just run around that part of the face. And if you see, I'm just trying to get to match it up with the other topology as best as possible. Just wrapping right around, creating my quote-unquote robin mask. Something like that. So now I've got the start of both of my other edge loops that I need, the turquoise blue and the robin mask. Okay. Now, here, I'm going to combine my eye. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to create one more edge loop here. And now I'm going to begin to combine it all. So I know these are slightly more accurate according to my references. I don't need this edge loop. And I'm just holding V using the move tool to snap. And it looks like this one here, and this one can go here for now. Okay, and I can go ahead and I can merge these as well. Looks like here I'm just going to need to do something like this for now, and to get that look. And I'll delete those other faces and just simply extrude these out to sort of match it. And this will have to obviously be changed slightly, but come on. Because your forehead here, where the bridge starts to happen, probably doesn't look like this, but I'll have to double check my references. Scaling these in, lining up here. Okay, so I'm good there. And now I'll start to do the same for the other part. Should probably not come out as far. Much more used to a Windows, so sometimes Windows PC, so sometimes I find myself holding Control or Command or some other thing other than Alt. Now this is also a tricky spot. Sometimes you want to have the back faces of the nostril, and sometimes you don't. A good way to check to see if it's starting to look right or not is just to enter smooth mode, and that'll give you a decent idea. And I'm just merging and going along here. And these two probably go together like so. This can start to come in and back more. Okay. And for the time being, I'm just going to combine this as well. Don't want it to look exactly like that, but it's not bad for now. Here, here. Okay. Combine, merge. I'm starting to get that edge loop, if you see here. Got it going up to that point, and now I'm going to sort of begin back to my laugh line, and I'm following my side reference back to my laugh line, back to my laugh line, back here, back here, something like that. So it's starting to come along. Now up here, I know I need to double check how the top of his forehead is going to be looking, and this obviously needs to come back. It hangs over slightly, but as you can see here, I'm just going to start following these reference lines to get that look that I'm going for. But most importantly, if I select this edge loop, you'll see I get my robin mask with all the correct topology that I needed. So it looks like this is out far, and these are slightly as well. Whoa. Okay. Okay, something like that. Okay, so now that I've got that, starting to that doesn't work so well. So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start to extrude down, and that will start to finish off the face for me. And I'm just extruding and merging verts. And then after I do this, I will begin to start to shape it a little bit more to get the regular looking look that I want. And here it looks like I might have a little bit too much geometry. For the time being, so I can get rid of some of that. And here, here. So I think I'm going to cut one more edge loop in here just for some ease. And from here to here. And from here to here. And now I'll check my references. And that's obviously going out far too out. And I'm going to bring this in slightly and start to match this up a little bit better. The other thing is, oops, I'm going to also cut in an extra edge loop here to match my laugh line. And I want one more here just so I have a little bit extra topology in there. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do I want to keep my edge loops going around my mouth, so I just adjusted the topology slightly. I'd really like one more going here. So I think I'm going to do that. like so. Take these, extrude down. Okay. Now the important thing here is that almost. For now, that's good. I'll change it in a moment if needed. Go to your side reference and start to match that up. And I'm only doing 1/2 at the moment. And I'm going to add some extra geometry in there. But just to get this starting to look like a face. Okay. And here it's just slightly strange. And he is on a slight angle, so but I still want to match it as much as I possibly can. And his nostril comes up slightly here. And here wanted an extra edge to give me a little bit more better look. You can always check it in smooth mode. And it looks like I got some vertices I need to merge. There we go. And I don't like this part here for the time being. I'm going to leave it, but see if I still have that. Yep. So that's really important. If I can keep this as well as get some of this, I need to adjust some of this topology. This is a weird edge loop that can be adjusted. For now, I'm not going to worry so much about it just because I'm trying to get the entire face in here. So here I can delete this and come on. Delete. Command D. Merge vertices. Vertex. And now I've got the start of my face. So it's starting to come along, and shading wireframe unshaded. It's a little harsh on these edges. Got a feeling some of these didn't merge correctly. There we go. And here, I know his jaw doesn't come out. Anyone's jaw doesn't start to round out that quick. So there we go there. And let's see. I would like to have that extra geometry there, but it's just too much. So I'm going to stick with something like that for now. Alright, it's a little weird, but we can fix that by starting to average vertices. So holding shift and right click, start to soften it out just slightly. Another thing you can use to fix some geometry is under edit mesh tools, sculpting tools, sculpt tool. Maybe this is different. Have my mesh selected. Try that again. Okay, maybe not. Mesh tools, sculpting tools. Whoa, that does not work like the previous version. There we go. Just had to adjust some of the settings on it. And when I need to bring this down, these tools are slightly different than I remember, or I'm used to anyway, from my 2015. Anyway, you can use these. It just takes probably a little bit of time to get used to. So that is not working out right. Whoa. Yeah, I don't know. Definitely not working how the old tool used to work. So for now, you might want to just stick with the average verts tool. That's all I got for the beginning of the face. Go ahead and start with that, and we'll continue with the face in part 2.